I'm Mark Matsumoto and welcome to my Tokyo kitchen. Today I want to show you the best way to cook an A5 Wagyu steak, and I'm also going to show you an easy Japanese steak sauce to go with it, so stick around. I want to start off by clearing up some misconceptions. The first thing is that Wagyu is not a breed of cow. The word Wagyu literally means Japanese beef, which refers to the fact that it's raised in Japan. So if you're buying beef that's not from Japan, it's not Wagyu. The second thing I want to clear up is the Japanese grading system for beef. The scale has two parts. The letters A, B, or C represents the meat yield from one cow, and A means the highest yield. The second part is the number, which goes from 1 to 5, and the higher the number, the better. This represents the quality of the beef, and it factors in the marbling, color, meat texture, and fat quality. Put it all together, and A5 Wagyu is beef that's made in Japan that comes from a big cow with the best quality of meat. Now that that's out of the way, let's have a look at our ingredients. Today I'm using an A5 grade top blade steak from Kagoshima Prefecture. It does have a bit of connective tissue in the center, but it's a flavorful cut from the shoulder, and it's not as expensive as ribeye or sirloin. Fat acts as an insulator, so when you have a steak with this much marbling, you don't want to go too thick. This one is 3/4 of an inch, and I wouldn't recommend going over an inch. We're gonna season this with salt and freshly cracked black pepper. I've also got a large clove of garlic that we're gonna turn into chips, and some onion which will form the base for our sauce. The other ingredients for the sauce include 2 tablespoons of mirin and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. For the garlic, I've peeled it and I'm gonna slice it up on a mandolin. This ensures they're an even thickness, which allows you to crisp them into chips without burning them. The next thing I'm gonna do is grate our onion. This is gonna help thicken our sauce while giving it a wonderful natural sweetness. Then I'm gonna measure out a tablespoon of this onion puree. To prep the steak, I'm going simple and seasoning it with salt and freshly cracked black pepper on both sides. It's important to season the steak, but you don't want to go overboard with the salt because it's a thin cut of meat and we're going to be serving it with the sauce. As you might imagine, this was an expensive video to make, so I want to thank all of you who support this channel by subscribing to my other recipe site over at marksrecipes.com. I've got a ton of Wagyu recipes over there, including this easy steak and tomato stir fry, these flavorful beef-wrapped asparagus spears, and this Japanese beef and vegetable stew. So head over to check them out and support this channel. All right, let's get back to our steak. To fry this up, I've got a smoking hot cast iron skillet over medium heat. Now we just need to add the steak. If your pan was hot enough, you should hear that nice sizzle. As you can see by the fat rendering out, you don't need to use any oil in the pan with an A5 Wagyu steak. Once you've got a good amount of fat in the pan, you can add some vegetables to accompany the steak like bell peppers, carrots, or onions. This helps keep the oil from getting too hot and smoking, and it'll also give you some delicious pan-roasted veggies. Some people say you shouldn't flip a steak too early, but I like flipping mine over every minute and a half or so. This allows you to slowly build up a beautiful brown crust without burning the steak. It also helps cook the steak through more evenly so you don't end up with an overcooked exterior and cold center. How long your steak is going to take to cook depends on how thick it is, how marbled it is, and what temperature it started out at. The good news is that A5 grade steaks tend to be fairly forgiving because of the marbling. Okay, these peppers are looking good, so I'm gonna get them out of the pan, but I still want to give the steak a bit more time. I prefer cooking leaner steaks to rare, but with something with this much fat, I usually take it to medium rare so it's not too rich. I'm shooting for an internal temperature of about 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 55 degrees Celsius. This feels just about right, so let's get it out of the pan and onto a cutting board to rest while we prepare our toppings. Let's get the pan back onto the stove and add in the sliced garlic. Then I'm gonna tip the pan to one side to accumulate everything into a pool so I can deep fry the chips in the flavorful Wagyu fat. The goal is to fry these until they're golden brown and the sizzling is mostly subsided. Garlic will go from crispy to burnt in seconds, so get them out of the pan as fast as you can once they start looking like this. Now I'm gonna add the pureed onion to the pan and give them a stir until they start to caramelize. Add the mirin and the soy sauce. And then we're gonna let this boil until the sauce is thickened up into a beautiful glaze. Okay, this is looking great, so let's get it off the heat. A5 Wagyu is so rich and buttery, you don't need much, so I like to slice these steaks up against the grain and share. This 200-gram steak should be enough for 2 to 3 people, and I'll often serve this with a more conventional steak for some variety. That's looking beautiful, so let's garnish this with some watercress, as well as our roasted peppers. Then I'm gonna drizzle on our Japanese steak sauce. Top that off with our crispy garlic chips. And then I'm going to finish this off with a generous crack of black pepper. That garlic and beef smells amazing, so let's try this out. Itadakimasu. All right, I'm going to grab a piece in the middle here, something that's nice and red with a little bit of that crispy garlic on there. Oh man. It just melts in your mouth like butter, and you've got those little crispy bits of garlic that flood your mouth with flavor. That sauce has the natural sweetness of the mirin and the onions, and you've got that beautiful toasty soy sauce flavor. And that meat is so tender, you almost don't need to chew. This thing is so buttery and rich, you wouldn't want to eat the whole steak by yourself, but divide it up and put it over a bowl of rice, and it makes the perfect meal for 2. Making an A5 Wagyu steak is a bit of a luxury, but it's a splurge I like to take sometimes, so I hope you'll give it a try. Well, I should probably fry up the rest of those steaks, but check out this playlist for more Wagyu recipes. And I'll catch you in the next one.